Hi, it's Alexis from AlexisPierce.com, and I am so thrilled today to be interviewing Denise Duffield-Thomas. She's a woman who almost at this point needs no introduction. She's a money mindset mentor for women entrepreneurs and the founder of LuckyBitch.com. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey Alexis, I'm joining you all the way from Newcastle, Australia. So, yes, I have an Australian accent. And for those of you listening, sometimes it might take just a second or two for it to kick in, and then you realize that I am speaking English.
Well, I make it no secret, but I used to live in New Zealand. I'm wearing my silver fern earrings right now, and when I came back to the States, it was the intention of moving right back to Australia. So at the time that I came back 2.5 years ago, all of the bloggers and people I followed were all Australian, and you were one of them. So it was like my secret little obsession. I'll just surround myself with all their voices, and we'll get back there. But I've been in your world, in your Lucky Bitch boot camp, and following you for 2.5 years, and have been blown away by the changes in my own life, and am so excited to share you and everything that you do with the people that are around me. So I'm really, really thrilled.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your business, because I know you weren't always in the money mindset work, but it's become such a powerful piece of what you offer.
Absolutely. In my background, I always just wanted to help people. And I wanted to be a coach before I knew what being a coach was. I knew I just wanted to help people, help them transform their lives. And it wasn't until probably my late 20s that I realized that life coaching was an actual job, right? So I went and did my courses and all that kind of stuff. And like a lot of people who start out in business, I tried to be everything to everyone. I tried to serve every single person with any problem that they would come to me with. And then I started kind of asking myself, well, what feels good here? So I knew it felt really good to work with women rather than men. So I started to say, well, I don't work with guys anymore, right? And then I realized I loved working with entrepreneurs and creative types and people who work in kind of creative industries rather than people who were in a job. So I was like, great. So I just started working with female entrepreneurs across the whole gamut of industries. And the problem was there was something that was going on where they couldn't do the most basic things sometimes in their business. So their homework might be, do something really small, like set up a Twitter account or just write a blog post. And they'd come back to me the next week and they would be paralyzed with fear about doing this blog post or doing something really quite basic. And so I started to explore it with my clients, and I also actually started to explore money stuff in my own life because I knew that I was feeling blocked around money as well. And even though I could attract clients and, attract opportunities to me, when it came to actually receiving the money, like when it actually came to exchanging actual money rather than just bartering or, hey, you did this to me and I'll do this for you, or, oh, you're so great, but, we don't have any money for it, right?
Yeah.
So I started exploring it in my own life, and then I started teaching it to my clients because what I realized was, of course they weren't scared about setting up a Twitter page, or of course they weren't scared about writing a blog post. There wasn't any charge around that, but there was some deeper underlying crap around fear of success, fear of money, some negative money beliefs that were starting to kind of knock up against what was actually happening in their life. So, money might have started to become a bit more easy and enjoyable, but there was suddenly like this old stuff that said it has to be hard to make money.
Yeah.
Money doesn't grow on trees. You don't get something for nothing. And because our generation of entrepreneurs, we're doing business so differently. I mean, even 5-10 years ago, we weren't using tools like Skype to connect, right? We would have had to just connect with people in our communities. And so we are forging this new path. And unfortunately, that can really trigger some of our old deep stuff around money. So I actually ignored the calling for a while because I thought, well, if I'm going to talk about money, I have to be Susie Orman. I just happen to have her book on my desk.
Susie Orman.
I love her as well. But here's the thing, right? When we start to go into business, it's like, oh, we want to help people, so I have to be Oprah or nothing. Yeah. I want to talk about money, so I have to be Susie Orman or nothing. I want to teach yoga and transformation, so I have to be whoever the top yoga guru is at the moment or nothing. I want to teach people meditation, but I'm not the Dalai Lama. And it's ridiculous that we feel that way, but I felt the same way about money, and I resisted the calling, and I was like, universe, I don't want to be the money girl. I'm not ready. I'm not right. I'm not professional enough to be the money girl. So I resisted it. And then I just went, you know what? This is what I teach people as well. I say, embrace being part of the conversation.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the expert. We all need to step up and share our voices in what we're expert in or what we can help people with, and add your voice to the conversation. Don't give yourself the pressure to be the Oprah of your industry from day one.
Right, right, because it's way too much, and so many of us have pieces to add to it, and I think the collaboration is the fun part. That's what I love about doing these interviews and my podcast, and working with other entrepreneurs and doing joint ventures, because we just have so much to bring to each other and to offer, and everyone can have a different take on it. And like
Absolutely.
in the beginning of blogging, I write every single day, every single weekday, and in the beginning I thought, well, I don't have anything unique to say. But at the end of the day, that's actually a good thing. I don't have anything unique to say. So let me just say it in my own voice, because I'm sure it's been said before and I don't need to worry about it. I'm just going to phrase it differently or put it in a different context.
Really good point.
I don't have to reinvent
That's a really,
the wheel.
really good point.
But I love what you say
someone
about...
needs to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. Someone needs to hear it from me. But I love what you say about money blocks. I'm very lucky to live in an incredibly wealthy town. And it's a beautiful town. We have lots of sports cars, beautiful mansions. I live on a gorgeous lake. And just last night, I was sitting around with my family and someone said, oh, well, they have more money than sense. And I went, excuse me? I have this interview with Denise coming up, and I've learned that mindset... Like, really, do they have more money than sense, or is it just really fun to have a blow-up slide in your backyard for all your parties? Like, maybe that's just really fun. But it's amazing how those subtle things sneak in there. Or we look at them and think, oh, well, I'm never going to have that house. Or, yeah, I'm around it all the time, but that car, like, why would you spend $100,000 on that car? What a silly investment when you could, pay for college or something. But those things are underneath there. And being
absolutely. What I teach, especially now, is discernment and choice. And it's okay for you to create your version of a first-class life. And for some people, that is a huge mansion. And for some people, it's one of those new tiny houses that are coming out, right? And I think when you get to a point where you really deeply and completely love and accept yourself for all of your blocks and all of your beliefs, but yet you still give yourself permission to choose, you give yourself permission to receive, you actually then start making choices not based on what other people think you should spend your money on, or even to fill a hole or to prove something to somebody else. And that's when you start to settle naturally into things that you love. And it might not be that you spend extravagantly on lots of things. Maybe you just spend extravagantly on things that you love and you really appreciate. And then for other things, you're happy buying cheap things because it doesn't matter as much to you. But either way, whether it's expensive or cheap or in between, it doesn't change how you feel about yourself. It's not based on an old story. And, when you get to that point, it's so freeing. And a lot of us, we are living our life based on just stories about money, even to pricing. We think that pricing is a literal reflection of our self-worth as human beings. And it's not. Pricing is just a marketing tool like any other. And when you start to, again, unravel your story about money and deeply and completely love and accept yourself no matter what you charge, then you can choose your niche, price accordingly, and not feel bad about charging it, wherever you fall in the pricing spectrum. It doesn't mean anything about you as a human. So this is the fun work, right? Because I think especially when I was a little girl and I didn't have much money, I thought, well, when I'm a rich woman, I will, wear suits and shoulder pads every day, and I'll always wear high heels, and I'll always have beautiful makeup on, and I'll live in a very fancy way. And then now, especially as I've seen, we've had more than 1,800 women go through the boot camp now. It's a beautiful thing when people start to make decisions based on what brings them joy, what lights them up, what they actually really want, rather than all the stories. And sometimes it is the suit with the shoulder pads. More often than not, like I live in beach resort wear all year round, because that's my dream.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Or for me, it's more body work, getting massages and being able to go to the chiropractor and just doing things like that really make me feel good. It's interesting because I love what I love so much about the boot camp and the community that you've created around it is that we celebrate wins and we celebrate valuing what we desire. And the phrase that you use, you deeply and completely love and accept yourself. That is so important because in the yoga world or even in the spiritual entrepreneur world, we have these hiccups around charging for value, yet we really value the work. We think it's deeply meaningful and deeply powerful and very spiritual, and it's important to us on a level that maybe we can't articulate in words. And yet when it comes to sharing that knowledge, we have a block around actually charging for it. But it is a process of acceptance. The more you accept yourself, the more you can allow for the support in order to be able to share your message. And it's receiving money and being provided for and supported is spiritual. It is a fulfillment of your purpose.
It is. And the best thing now about the tools that we have at our disposal as entrepreneurs is that because we think yoga should be free and transformation should be free and all this kind of stuff. And I totally agree with you. And also at the same time, we are allowed to charge beautifully for what we do. So the great thing is now we can provide things for free for people and we can charge as well. So, if you're a yoga teacher, you can teach free classes over Skype to as many people who want to join. You can do Periscope. You could Periscope a yoga class now.
Yeah.
You can provide free YouTube classes to anyone who wants them. You could also, if you wanted to do have once a month or once a week, you can invite people into your free class. The problem, though, is when we give, and we don't allow the natural cycle to allow us to receive.
Yeah.
And when that happens, when you get burnt out, when you're only giving and not receiving, you really limit the amount of people that you can help. And you obviously, and the stuff that you do to your own self, right, and your own energy, because you are a finite resource. But the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur in today's world is that we can create tools that can be viewed by millions of people, but our time and our energy is still finite, but we can leverage that experience. So we can make yoga free. We can make transformation free. I do a weekly video blog about money. That's free. I do Periscopes almost every day. They're free. But then when someone wants to work with me, that costs them money, and that's okay. And that's where we've got to get to, where we know that we're giving, and we feel good about the level of giving that we're doing. We know that if someone came to us and needed help, we can point them to resources that we have created. And then it's up to you. You can choose with discernment. If your needs are taken care of, you will be able to have more energy to create more things to help more people.
Exactly. So I've really gotten into the concept of self-care and opening myself to receiving through your work and through the boot camp. And I just discovered things like baths, and I've always known about massages. I didn't realize how valuable they were monetarily, because the more I receive and give to myself, the more actually I can then create and allow that cycle to happen. But what are some of the tools or steps that you suggest for people who maybe this is the first time they're thinking about receiving in this way? And the importance of receiving? What are some of the things that they can do to get started?
Sure. So I really think it comes back to your stories, though, because a lot of the time we try and take action, or we try and layer things on top without actually really dealing with the underlying stuff.
Yeah.
And if you find that some things are hard, like receiving, like taking care of yourself, this is all this top level stuff, and we think that's the problem, but it's not. So actually the very first thing that I get people to do is have a look at all their money memories. We do this in the boot camp, and look at everything that you remember about money, that your parents said, that your teachers, your friends said, how rich you were compared to other people in your family, like painful memories, funny memories, anything that you can think of. And then look for patterns, because the stuff that you're doing now, your level of receiving now, the level of receiving you have around self-care, around receiving money, around your business, all of that is really behaviors that you learned a long time ago. Sometimes they're coping behaviors. Sometimes they they're based on a story that you have that I'm not worth it, or I'm not allowed to do this, or people like me don't do
Right.
something like this. We don't, that could be the thing, like we don't complain,
Yeah.
that could be a really held belief in your family, and you're just living your life as if those stories are true. So when you really look at that and you look at some of those underlying patterns, it makes it much easier then to take action, because you're not fighting against your conditioning. You're not fighting against your old belief and stories. So if you do have something around self-care where you just cannot do it, and you feel guilty about it, you feel guilty spending the money, you don't enjoy it, all that kind of stuff, dig deeper and see what stories that you have, and allow yourself to clear them, and allow yourself to make decisions as an adult based on what you want, based on choice,
Yeah.
rather than all the old crap.
Well, that's incredibly empowering, because I think so many of us may have grown up with the idea that you're born into what you're born into, and you can't, oh, those people who escape that are lucky, or they're just talented. They have something different innate in them than I do. But really,
Yeah,
what you teach is that actually that's not the case. It's the way that you're thinking, and it's the story that you're telling yourself, and what you're allowing yourself both to believe and do and then receive. And I know for me, I grew up in
absolutely.
a family of academics, and then I went into the government. I'm surrounded by nonprofit people. All of those are fixed. Like, get a job, it's totally secure, it includes retirement, and never ever leave. And
Yeah,
it's been a really interesting process to work with. Oh, there's actually a lot implied in that. And if I've decided that I want to be something different, and I spend on the bad days, especially on the bad days, because that's when your mindset really shows up and you can hear it, and it's going, I'm
for
not cut
sure.
out for this. I'm not made for this. I'm not unique enough. I'm not special enough. Why didn't I start when I was 12? And I don't all of those things that come up, and like, oh, I'm just not one of those people, good or bad. Sometimes we pride ourselves on not being one of those people, but that's exactly what you're saying. Like, get down back to that story, because you do have the choice. And what could be more amazing than knowing that you actually can create the life that you want, as long as you're clear about it, and then do the work to unpack it.
Absolutely. The whole luck thing, I'm glad you said that, right? Because the reason why I called my company Lucky Bitch is because that's what people always said to me when I started transforming my life. When things started to obviously change for me, where we changed where we live, and we change, and actually someone said to Mark, he said, "Did you guys win the lottery? Like, is there something you're not telling us?" And, I had friends say, "Oh, you're such a lucky bitch." And the reason, luck is just, it's a result of compounding actions, right? And the compounding actions are a result of repetitive beliefs. And that can go either way.
Yeah,
If you have a repetitive belief that you're not good enough, then your action is going to compound that, right? You're going to live that as a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that can go either way. And so I find luck is just a result of compounding action and repetitive belief.
yeah,
And it's not an accident of where you are at the moment. If it's good or bad, most of the time it's absolutely not an accident where you're at. But the good news is that you can drive that, right? Because
yeah.
if you want a different result in a year, 3, 5 years time, you just have to start working on those repetitive beliefs, making sure they're positive more often than they're negative. You don't have to be perfect about it. And then you have to make sure that those compounding actions, those incremental upgrades that you're making, are going in the right direction as well, because that's what leads to success. And from the outside, it does look like luck. But from the inside, you know that you are the one driving it through just micro actions, little shifts, uh, compounding actions every single day. And that will spiral to a good result. And we all have bad days. You
Yeah.
just have to make sure that those bad days don't spiral down to a negative result over time. You can just course correct.
Exactly. And they give us an awareness of how far we've come, because we are able to see them more clearly as we move forward, and then we can adapt and adjust, like you said. When it almost mimics the
Yeah.
process of business, because so many people, we see people blow up on the scene, especially online, and we go, oh, look, an overnight success. Except for the 10 years before that, where they were making all of those daily movements and moving forward and doing the mindset work, and every day doing that piece until you get to a place where you're like, okay, now I'm here. And that doesn't mean you've arrived. There's still somewhere else to go, but it's this momentum going forward.
Exactly. And you know what? There are outliers in every industry, and there are outliers in every situation. And so some of those success stories are simply that. They are complete outliers. But for most of us, we don't need to have those massive, big overnight success leaps if we're working in the right direction, if we're going in the right direction. And ironically, when you're making those little incremental micro actions, things can happen very quickly. You would be surprised, but you'll ground them in as you go and you anchor in the success as you go. And because trust me, you will get triggered at every stage.
Right.
You know, that whole new level, new devil thing that David Nagel teaches. You will totally get triggered, and that's totally normal as well. And I think, you know, the final thing that I want to leave people with is you don't have to be perfect. We're not striving for perfection here. And this is true in yoga, this is true in business, this is true in any kind of transformation work. Because striving for perfection, it really takes us off that axis that we want to. I deeply and completely love and accept myself as a flawed human being who isn't going to get this right every day, who doesn't have a perfect money mindset, who doesn't have a perfect back bend, you know, on the mat. And that's okay. And the more that you can stand up and say, I'm worthy of this, whatever that is that you want, how I am right now. I don't need to lose 10 pounds to be worthy of success. I don't need to change everything about myself to be worthy of success. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And to be honest, that's the only secret. It really is. It transforms everything, because then we're smart women. We know how to do a business. We know how to put together a project plan and tick it off.
Yeah.
But it's that stuff that comes from deep inside, that deeply and completely loving and accepting yourself. If you work on that more often than not, you don't have to be perfect at it. That's what's going to allow you to move on and take the action that you know is going to create you success.
Yeah. Wow, that's really powerful. And I think you embody that so well. And one of the things I love about your boot camp is your community, and that you do join for life. So that as you go through these phases and you change and you grow, and then you go a little bit backwards and you come a little bit forwards, it's all there for you to continually revisit and to get that support. And it's helpful to be in that community because you're not always clear on how you're thinking yourself. So it's good to reflect it off people. And for people who don't know, you're a best-selling author and your books are amazing. Lucky Bitch and Get Rich Lucky Bitch, which is a great way to learn more about you and some of the tools that you learn. And your boot camp is just phenomenal. What else do you have coming up? Please tell me there's something in store.
Yes. Well, the cool thing is, we've had 1,800 women go through the Money Camp, and I'm constantly trying to upgrade things all the time. So I'm actually upgrading the Money Boot Camp, which is really awesome.
Awesome.
So I'm doing a closeout sale of the boot camp, which it doesn't mean it's shutting down. It just means that on the 23rd of July, anyone who joins from there will get complimentary access to the new upgraded course in October. So we're shutting it down on the 23rd of July. We're shutting it down for a couple of months so we can just, even on the mat, you think you finish one practice and then you start afresh. And we really wanted to do that. So, and it's, the price is going up. We're doubling the price in October. So the cool thing is that everyone who joins by the 23rd, even if you joined in 2011, which is when I ran my first course version of it, anyone who's joined before then will get upgraded into that new course.
Oh, that's incredible.
If there are people who are fence sitters, there's never been a better time to join, really, because you get to join at the current price, get all the bonuses, get into the community straight away, and then you get all the upgrades as we roll them out. So the boot campers always get the upgrades before anyone else does
true.
anyway.
That's true. I love that. Yeah. And I can attest, having been in it now for at least 2 years, if not a little bit longer, it's worth whatever price you're offering. And I'm excited that you are actually doubling the price because you have offered so much value. And I think it allows people to make that commitment to themselves and to invest in improving in this area and invest in yourself. So that's really a powerful lesson right there in the work that you're doing to upgrade and renovate, I guess. It's like closed for renovations and then we'll come back bigger and better, but I love it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, the good thing is too, you can start where you are. That's the lesson that I've learned from creating this course and having so many women go through it and upgrading it. I started with an iPad recording in my bedroom.
Yeah.
That's the very first course. That's how it started. And then I upgraded. And the lesson is, if I had waited to be Oprah before I started that lesson, that's 1,800 women who would not have had that transformation over the last couple of years. I'm still not Oprah. It's like if I was still waiting to be Oprah, I'd never get started. And so the reason why I always share that and share all those early success stories and share how crap my branding looked for the first couple of versions of the boot camp, I want to show people that, because you can start now however you are. You are enough. You are enough. You know enough to start helping and transforming other people's lives. Don't wait, because there are people waiting for you to step up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for spending the time and for getting up so early in Australia. I really appreciate it. It's been lovely to...
I have a baby. She's up early.
Oh yeah. So you never sleep, basically.
No.
Well,
Thanks,
thank you
Alexis.
for sharing your message. And I do hope people go and check you out. Do you want to share the website, luckybitch.com?
Yep, it's /bootcamp. Yep, and Alexis will probably put a link down below. And yeah, absolutely jump on it before the 23rd, because it is closing down for a couple of months, and also you can lock in that price and start joining and being part of the Lucky Bee community, and start upgrading your money mindset straight away.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks.